well, 3 years off the grid. Interesting little journey. For the first time only a short while ago, I ran my solar batteries flat. And that was a little bit too excessive use of that thing there. Flogging the hell out of it on cloudy days and a number of overcast days in a row and something like 7 or 8 hours one day and then a little bit more the next morning on that laptop, just sort of pushed it over the edge. But yeah, it's sort of been an interesting little journey. Of course, this is not off grid, but I'm getting, this year we're going to be replacing the house roof, and I'm finally going to be getting myself proper air conditioning. There's some things where they say, like my parents often say to me basically, is it's not hot enough for that many days of the year that it's really worth worrying about air conditioning. Sometimes with the amount of disposable income I have, and you get me on one of these 44, 45 degree days, we're talking 113 Fahrenheit days, you know what? When I'm sweating like a pig just about going, you just want to escape that sort of heat. And at that point, the money doesn't sort of matter that much. So, yeah, I'm going to make the right moves and probably just get myself a box air conditioner. I'm not going to get stupid blasted portable ones that have that big blooming hose thing going out. They're too inefficient and they're just crap. I'm going to try and get myself a small Kelvinator. They're basically 500 watt job. And they're like, your crap portable ones are made in China are like $350. These are blooming good ones. Really top brand name, well manufactured, and the smallest one they got in a box, one that you're supposed to mount in the window, but I'll probably mount it in that door where I've got the sort of duct there coming in for the where I had the evaporative cooler that I basically used to transfer the cold night air in the spring into the bedroom at the end of the day. I'll probably actually mount it above that duct or something like that on that same door because I've got a hole in that door. And the fact of the matter is the outside of that door, initially it didn't have it, like the veranda sort of stopped just short of that door. And then I sort of extended it another 2 metres or something like that. And that's now undercover, so I, can have an air conditioner there without it getting rained on, basically. But I may also get a little bit smarter and also have like a little chimney in that part of it or something like that, or maybe a little fan to try and basically, try and not let the hot air build up under the veranda extension there and try and blow it out. And it could be as simple as a blasted desk fan hanging out on the veranda on one side of it, blowing it towards basically so that the hot air is blown towards the outside so it won't get trapped under the veranda. But either way, that's the plan. Of course, I'm, fixing the fencing so the sheep are going to have access to another half of the property. I'm intending to get chooks, and I've got my eye on a few old things I've had laying around to make a chicken coop out of that will actually, I don't think I'm going to super duper insulate it. I might just stick with what I'm thinking of and just use the radiant insulation, the silver paper. Sucking insulation is the proper industrial name for it. It's sort of been an interesting little journey, and now I've got a wood hot water system as well, and although I haven't used it for the first couple of years, I'm using the wood stove a lot more often, and I'm going to be getting this spring a combination wood stove, oven and hot water system with an overhead water tank. It's like, you're basically your hot water storage tank. I don't think it's a very big one. I think it might be like, I don't know, about 2 foot tall and about maybe 1.5 foot round or something like that, 1.5 foot diameter. But I don't really know, but we'll see when we get it. And yeah, when I get a hot water pump for the wood hot water system, I'll probably continue using that. That was an experiment that I wasn't too sure how it was going to turn out. Turns out there's probably not... We could have had a little bit more of a flue in there, but basically, once it gets rolling, it doesn't tend to throw so much smoke out the front. And to be honest, I was quite surprised at how well I've managed to gear the size of the firebox and the heat it needs to how, much water we got. We had a set amount that we were going to have as water, and I've sort of got pretty much the right amount of pipes running through it to be able to get most of the smoke out, except on startup, and also not have the firebox too small. And I'm actually absolutely flabbergasted that you can heat that water up with only about 3/4 of the amount of wood I would load the wood stove with in one hit. I'm not joking. It's just... That's phenomenal. You can get that whole tank to heat up to temperature, to really seriously warm temperature. You wouldn't want it to be much hotter temperature. With 3/4 of what I put in when I refill the wood stove with one load. I mean, it's just, I cannot get over the efficiency of it. And I mean, it doesn't even have dampers or anything like that. It's just an open front, Not even a door on there, and yeah, I'm pleased as punch that worked out. I can tell you, I probably didn't need the amount of insulation I put on it. That was a little bit overkill. I come back, I'm not joking, I heated that water up, had me shower, and refilled it with water, and the fire was still going pretty good, so I probably reheated that water because I've literally emptied it out, and then it's reheated the water to temperature within 5 minutes, and all it was the amount of heat, the heat stored, the heat mass in the steel of the tank and the pipes. They basically rewarm that water in about 4 or 5 minutes. Unbelievable. But it probably done that one particular night. I used my shower, refilled it, probably reheated itself within about 5 minutes. I was there 22 hours later to light it again, and it was still lukewarm in the tank. I think I may have overdone the insulation. That's not a problem though. I'm quite thrilled that it's sort of that way, that you can basically have one shower, refill the water, wait 5 minutes or so, and it'll be hot enough to have a second shower. It's been more of a success than I had expected, except that stupid muffler putty is half cracked and hasn't done anything. That was a bull crap idea, that. But anyways, it's sort of... You guys may think, oh, it's a weird life living off grid, but when you've done it for 3 years, it's normal. Like, to me, it's, everybody sort of thinks, like somebody invited me to go on Twitter and all that sort of thing, like, what am I going to tweet? Lighting my wood stove now, oogie boogie boogie. So what? It's just everyday life to me. There's nothing out of it's just normal, And when you sort of look at it, if you sort of look at this seriously, right, you've got a solar system that during most months of the year, or at least 9 months of the year anyway, you just turn the lights on and off like everybody else. The propane stove is just the same as lighting a natural gas stove. It's not that different in many ways. I've still got a fridge. Yeah, it's a damn small fridge, but I've still got a fridge. I can still turn the tap on and there's pressurised water. It sort of takes a second and then the water starts, just comes out and then when I turn it off, it seems to be high pressure. And it's not like, normal mains, but hey, these things are not quite spot on, but they're pretty flaming close. And I'll tell you another glorious thing was buying this little turkey here. That's I'll show you the little tag they got in these things actually. Got a huge tag there. Heated gear, and it's got all the things on it. Remove battery pack and battery controller before washing. You don't say. There's another one here. Going on about all the different stuff with, heating elements are not recommended to touch bare skin, all this sort of stuff. those of you who don't know, and I mean all of you probably do, this is the Milwaukee heated jacket. Anyway, there's basically a little 12-volt cordless drill battery and a little battery holder, and that all comes out when I unzip that piece. And a little lead that you put in the battery holder that goes into the coat. And there's your little, this is the older model that I got on the clearance. That just glows inside there. The new one, it glows on the outside and the button's on the outside and you look like a bloody Christmas tree, they reckon. But with this, things have changed quite a bit. I used to have a Coleman Black Cat, which is a little catalytic heater. Strange looking thing with a grey cloth behind this sort of a mesh. And yeah, it's a catalytic heater that runs on those little green disposable propane bottles. I used to have that in the kitchen, and I used to have another butane heater, which uses your standard old ceramic element and little tiny butane cans. They're sort of basically the same size as an aerosol can, to, you know, keep warm in my bedroom, to sort of warm myself up when I got up in the morning to go to work in my bedroom. And the Coleman Black Cat propane one was in the kitchen while I was having breakfast. I have not used those at all this winter, because all I do is whack this on and turn it on, and I just have not had a need. You know, and I think this wasn't a stupid idea either, because if you've got, I know I'm having a few power issues in the winter, but if you've got, say, thermoelectric generation, or maybe even steam generation, or more likely a wind turbine, and you don't have a great deal of power problems during the winter, you can get this and use the batteries out of it. Oh, here we go. Here's the 4 amp hour. This is the big banger. This barely fits in. The other one's only like that, basically cut off there without the big bottom bit, but this is a big mongrel. And 55 watts. 55 watts to charge it, you know. The little one that's in it now, small battery, I think it's a 1.5 amp hour or something. Takes half an hour to charge, and this 4 amp hour, it's like 2 hours to charge or something. But I tell you what, those coats in a shit at the fan, grid down situation where you can't get any more propane, or you want to be very humble in your usage of propane in a prolonged, you know, economic collapse situation or whatever, these coats are not a bad idea at all, because basically they mean that you don't end up using propane or butane for heating, and that's something that you don't have to go out to the outside world to replace, or have real issues getting in, you know, bad conditions, or even situations such as a hurricane where you can't go outside, or if you're snowed in or something like that, and, you know, to go blooming, you know, 10 miles up the road in your four-wheel drive just is not going to happen with the amount of snow out there. You know, so yeah, that was a good little off-grid move, that was. I'm still obviously using the USB motor. This is a mongrel of a thing. I think it's a mongrel of a thing, I thought. And it turns out there's just some nights where it just doesn't want to pick up and others it does. But I've got a feeling it's actually the network, not this. And I occasionally bang that on the damn table and then hope for the best, thinking it might be this Chinese crap USB modem. I've also got the one Troy gave me, which is runs a tablet, but I haven't got the tablet here. I've got it back at my normal off-grid house. But yeah, you know, it's not a bad life, you know, and like the disposable income levels are pretty flaming good if you're willing to just, you know, live slightly lower conditions. And I recommend it by far, because, you know, with the way I'm going now, the boss paid me again, and like I got enough cash in my wallet. I mean, I almost got enough cash flipping just in the last pay to go buy a kilogram, that's 32.7 ounces of silver. You know, and this is the sort of disposable income you can end up getting living off-grid. And, you know, it's not a bad old life. and I definitely recommend it. I will say that what I've sort of noticed with when I was using the wood hot water system, before the stupid little pump failed on me, what I realised is I'd have a routine that I started doing of basically coming home from work, and before you sit down and do anything, if you're one of these people that has a beer, I don't really drink anymore, but before you sit down and do whatever, I used to say, okay, light the wood stove and light the wood hot water system, and then go and cut up a bit of food, peel a few potatoes, or just get a lousy bit of rice out of the cupboard and chuck it in a pot and a bit of water. And, basically, there's a lot of paper and kindling and stuff for the initial load for the wood stove. And then once that's died down, I usually reload it with wood and then drop the pot on. But if you light the wood stove, light the wood hot water system, and then prepare some food to put on the wood stove, then you sit on your ass, play around on YouTube, do whatever you want, and in a little while, all these things start to come up to temperature, and then after you watch a little bit of YouTube or whatever, then you realise, go and check the chef, turn the pump on, is the water warm enough? Yes, no, okay, wait a bit longer, how's the thing cooking in your wood stove? Change it up. It's not sort of, the only extra chore is bringing in extra wood and doing that initial lighting when you get home. And, some people, got a little bit better setup than I have currently, and I will have it well set up when I get this combination system, and all they got to do is just light one thing, and it heats the house, and it's a stove, and it's an oven, and it's a hot water system, and that's just one device they got to light, and then you sort of, it depends how you got everything set up, but I have a whole heap of wood out in the veranda, and every few days I've got to go and reload a heap of wood. You don't have to do it every night, but just a few wheelbarrows twice a week, and I usually make one of those times on a Saturday, and often enough, if I do a good enough load just on a Saturday, that's the only time I need to get any wood in, but I seem to be ducking out occasionally if I didn't sort of take care of it enough on the weekend and whatever, but it all depends on how much you can store. And if you've got a wood shed, like more or less in your veranda, you might have to go and, fill that up twice in winter, once before winter and then twice in winter, because you might have a month's load, right there. And I do like the idea of having wood in my veranda because it means I don't have to go and get wet to get some wood. And also the wood that I, I know is dry because it's been sitting there dry and undercover sort of thing. And I'm always really like the idea of having wood undercover because I hate the idea of trying to get a fire going with, and then almost killing it by putting in half wet wood. But you can get away with it, but you just got to choose your times to mix it. And of course, when you're initially lighting it, that's not a good time at all. It's you got to wait till she's running pretty well before you can start chucking in your wet stuff. But I'm not joking. This year I have just gone overkill on firewood. I mean, let's face it, like, we're 2 weeks off the middle of winter and I've still got stuff that I've got sitting outside because I've ran out of places to keep it under cover. I'm still using that, and I'm trying to get rid of all that stuff. And the fact of the matter is I've barely touched any of the stuff that I've got under cover. Just, only literally, probably about 3 wheelbarrows full of taken out from under cover, and everything else has been stuff that I've been cutting at the very end of autumn, or still outside with a tarp, trying to keep the water off it sort of thing, and hoping the stuff laying directly on the ground is going to be dry outable as I'm burning some stuff that I've, got from one of my covered areas sort of thing. But as I always say, you can never have too much firewood, and that's one thing you want to think about seriously when you live off grid. Never ever sort of leave it too late with the firewood. As soon as that warm weather hits, get stuck into it. And make sure you're on top of things in regards to firewood. Because I pity the poor people who don't sort of quite understand it and go, oh, well, I'm going to cut my firewood in the winter. Yeah, you go out there in a blizzard. You go out there when it's pissing rain down and you've got blooming, you're getting an inch an hour of rain, What are you going to do? You'd be battling to get the blasted chainsaw to keep running. You'd be battling, you wouldn't want to be out there yourself. And it all sounds good, but you tend to notice when the winter comes, you don't want to go outside when it's flaming freezing cold, I'll tell you that Milwaukee jacket is good too, though, for work, because there's been times where we've had some horrendous winds, and usually we don't have them in winter. But basically, there's been times where I'm at work and the wind's going like hell, and it's only 5 degrees Celsius, which is about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, or 41.2, something like that. And then it starts raining heavily. And the wind chill factor is probably going below freezing. And that's when I press the little button and turn the heat on. Yeah. You always want to be sort of prepared in advance with firewood, and do expect to take more time up in just, running your things day to day, but do expect also to have quite a bit of disposable income. If, and there's nothing quite like sort of getting things set up right the first time, but don't always expect you will get things set up perfectly the first time. I'm shocked at how well I did do so much stuff right the first time. I thought I'd have a lot more failures and a lot more grief, and there was a couple of little things, but at the end of the day, I done better than I would have expected in regards to getting the right things the first time. And anyway, that's about all I've got to say in regards to the 3 years off grid. And to me, it's just a normal life now. I couldn't. It's sort of different when I come over here to look after this on-grid house, because it's just, you turn on the switch for everything. It's just bizarre to me like that. I mean, to you guys it might be normal, but to me it's sort of like, but I can't believe how I can, have a laptop going and then hit the power on the heater and then turn the microwave on and then turn and you could just keep on turning on more and more and more things. I've sort of got into a mentality of, like even cooking stuff, you sort of get into a mentality of one thing at a time sort of thing, and sort of, it's a good habit to get when you're on grid, to sort of don't come out and just turn everything on all at once, to sort of, run your kettle, and when that goes off, bang, use that, and then turn your microwave off. And the second your kettle goes click, then go bang, turn your microwave, and sort of so that your drawer isn't tons and then nothing, because you will actually flatten your batteries a lot faster if you have a huge drawer and all of a sudden, and then no draw for a while, as opposed to getting the same amount of amp hours out, but over the longer period of time. Because, the heavier draw actually flattens your batteries faster than the same amount of draw over a longer period of time. And, that's one of the convenience things that you may have to adjust to in regards to living off grid, especially if your inverter's only a certain size that'll, you've got a good solar system, but your inverter will only allow you to do a certain amount of things at once, and another little habit I recommend to you all is when the sun comes out, whack everything on the charge. Because once those batteries are full, any extra light that comes in is just going to nothing. And, I sort of know that my panels are making 240 watts. Most of that I'm keeping because I've got an MPPT charge controller, and so then you go ahead and recharge your cordless drill or your heated jacket or your laptop or, well, I'm on it now, the phone, and, sort of charge up everything you can in the morning. And it's a great idea to get into that habit. And as seen by somebody else, if you're going to flame and clean out one of these things, make sure you only turn it back on when the sun comes up the next morning, and sort of basically stagger the things you're doing to make the most of when the sun's shining, so that you sort of, you don't hit battery shutdown, basically. It's a lot better on your batteries and whatnot, but the convenience is not too bad. It's about 90% convenience anyway, for a cost saving that, well, let's face it, I'm heating my house with wood, I'm cooking my lunch the next day with wood, and I'm having a shower with wood, and the pump is run by a solar panel. Compare that to this place that I'm standing in now, whereby, well, it's heated electrically. It's also got electric hot water and electric cooking. At the end of the day, those things are some of your biggest electricity drawers, and they're some of the biggest impacts on your bill, especially that blooming electric heater. And let's face it, that hot water system is 4,800 watts. And if you can eliminate all that, you eliminate the vast majority of your power usage, because your biggest amount of power usage is things that create heat. I recommend it hands down. Even if it's only for, you may be a prepper, you may not be, you may be worried about economic collapse, you may not be zombie apocalypse, whatever. I done it for money. I've done it purely for monetary purposes, and I tell you what, it has been bloody worth it. The inconvenience of lighting a couple of matches every night, and shuffling around with a bit of firewood on a Saturday morning, as opposed to, forking out for all this stuff. I think that's one of the big things that sort of the Western world has gone to, has been the whole idea of you end up in an ultra-specialised little miniature stream, and it can be some pen-pusher job that can be wiped out at the stroke of a bureaucratic pen, or can be redundant, like I know of an accountant who went off and had a couple of kids and hasn't been practising for 4 years, and it took them, it was so much effort, I don't even think they bothered moving back into accountancy, because it had changed so much since they'd left for a few years to have a couple of kids, and you sort of, this whole idea of being ultra-specialised in one idea, but then being so dumb you can't even change your car tyre, you can't do anything without having to pay for it. Not only are you dependent on money, you're dependent on your very highly specialised skills still being available and still being able to make you money. And this is the sort of thing that you're dependent very much on the outside world. And you also got the chance that they're going to screw you. And I think of it like this. What about all the taxes? And the profits. You got company profits that, well, in actual fact, are owned by Chinese investors that own this state's privatised power system is largely American, British and Chinese owned. And I think now it's more and more and more Chinese owned. Rather than American and British. But there's profits going to basically foreign shareholders, plus government taxes, things like the carbon tax and whatnot, and even the employees of the power company are paying income tax. Whereas you could wipe those people out. Not wipe them out in a nasty way, but I'm just saying, there's always cutbacks on taxes that you don't pay, and all the inflated profits going to some rich bloke in London who, has come from a wealthy family, and you're footing the bill for his lifestyle. And all these things are things that you don't need to be footing the bill for. If you can use a blooming chainsaw and slice up a bit of your own wood, and basically cut the power thing out of the equation, because every product that's made, of course, there's all taxes and there's profits, and then you're not paying those profits to shareholders or those taxes if you can do it off your own back just by swinging a chainsaw around for 2 weekends of flipping year, which is, well, it's almost like, it's like blooming 3 afternoons a year for me. But, you know, not even 2 full days really. But yeah, you know, it's 3 years of living off grid.